Well, obviously, like, people respect people with zeros at the end of their checks. Like, let's just be honest. Like, there's respect element of things when you walk into a room if you have zeros behind your check. And so I feel like in order for the WNBA to be reputable and to be respected, you have to have zeros behind your check. And with that being said, a number of zeros behind your check. And that has crossed WNBA off the list for a number of years just because.
That is Candace Parker, one of the greatest players in WNBA history, making an argument that has been repeated by thousands of players during CBA negotiations. The belief is that people respect money, that more zeros on a paycheck automatically translate into greater value and respect. On the surface, that sounds reasonable, but the problem is the argument falls apart once you actually examine the numbers. And it's especially not the case you want to be making when you're sitting across the table from team owners trying to negotiate a new collective bargaining agreement.
Pay players over $1 million, but you're giving coaches. I've never heard of a league where the coach is paid more than the best player. I have never, and please correct me if I'm wrong.
I don't know.
The best player on the team is going to make more than the head coach. Yes. So with all of these owners that are saying, or the WNBA in general that's saying we can't play players that, then how are you finding this for coaches?
Now that's a much stronger point. How is it possible that coaches are making more than the best players on the team? At first glance, that feels wrong, but the context changes everything. The only WNBA coaches currently earning over $1 million are Becky Hammon and Nate Tibbetts. Hammond spent 8 years as an assistant under Greg Popovich with the San Antonio Spurs, widely considered one of the greatest coaches in NBA history, while Tibbetts worked as an assistant with 3 different NBA teams before coming to the WNBA. To attract elite coaching talent from the NBA, the top basketball league in the world, you have to pay elite money, and that investment paid off immediately. Hammond won a championship in her second season, and Tibbetts took his team to the finals in his first year. Where Candace Parker is absolutely right is in the new WNBA CBA proposal. The maximum player salary would jump to over $1 million. The minimum salary would rise to what was a maximum last season at around $220,000, and the average salary would reach $500,000. That means the top players will now be earning as much as those coaches. And the gap is finally closing.
Then male counterparts, and women have more sometimes at times with more followers. And you look at Paige Becker's, her followers in college were way more than Jalen Suggs that got drafted. And so it's just one of those things where it's impacting from top to bottom. And I'm just grateful for social media because I think numbers don't lie.
Transparency.
And there's transparency, and you see with NIL how much somebody is worth.
And this is where the argument really starts to fall apart. Social media followers don't translate into viewership or attendance. Angel Reese may have more followers than Caitlin Clark, but the actual numbers tell a very different story. Indiana Fever games averaged 1.118 million viewers per game last season, while Chicago Sky games average around 572,000, more than double in Fever's favor. The Fever sold out every arena they played in, while the Sky had empty seats in multiple games. Instagram numbers don't matter to team owners when they're looking at revenue. What matters is how many people buy tickets and how many tune on TV, because that's what generates the money that pays salaries. And social media popularity doesn't correlate with on-court performance either. Sports is one of the few industries where influence doesn't override merit. You can have 10 million followers, but if you're shooting 30% from the field and your team is losing, you're not getting a max contract. The product on the court is what ultimately matters.
In front of people that,
spoke English?
Yeah, spoke English and all those things. Made my marketing endorsements, Adidas and Gatorade and, that type of thing. But it was overseas where, I take care of my family, and I mean, the Rolexes, the black diamonds as gifts from our owners over there, Russian owners. Chefs, drivers, beautiful apartments. We flew charter. We were treated like professional athletes over there. And with that being said, it was still overseas. I mean, I was still playing in Ekaterinburg, Russia. My daughter's first school was in Russia. She spoke Russian. And I'm grateful for the experience. And honestly, like, if I had it to do over again, those are the options. Do I wish I could have stayed stateside? Do I wish I could have had an off season to work on stuff? Yes.
So let's talk about the Russia situation, because it's crucial to understanding how the WNBA ended up where it is today. Diana Taurasi, arguably the greatest WNBA player of all time, once took an entire WNBA season off to play exclusively in Russia, where she was paid $1 million not just to play, but specifically to skip the WNBA season. And nothing happened. Viewership didn't drop, attendance stayed the same, and the league didn't panic or suddenly raise salaries to keep her. The WNBA simply carried on as usual. That moment says everything about how the league has operated for nearly 3 decades. There's been a long-standing belief that major changes aren't necessary for survival. Playing overseas has been baked into the league's structure from the very beginning. The WNBA season runs from May to September, or October if you make the finals, leaving 7 months for players to earn money elsewhere. Many players finish the playoffs, fly straight to another country, play a full overseas season, and then return just in time for WNBA training camp. Some even miss the start of the WNBA season because they're still completing those overseas commitments.
There's a couple things to break down here. Let's first talk about the salaries and her saying that the women just need to wait. So I actually looked up what the average salary was in 1975, which was the 30th season in the NBA. So as you guys know, the NBA is like in its 80-something season. The WNBA will be going into their 30th season, seeing as if the 30th season happens and they figure out the CBA. So in 1975 in the NBA, the estimated average player salary was around $50,000. This figure would be roughly $270,000 in today's money when adjusted for inflation.
Here's what I keep coming back to. The WNBA was never designed to be the premier basketball league in the world. And if the goal is to turn it into one, you can't just throw more money at players and hope that fixes everything. The entire structure has to change, starting with the length of the season. Right now, you have to reach the finals just to approach 6 months of basketball. At a minimum, the season should run from May through December, an 8-month schedule that would eliminate the ability for players to play full overseas seasons and make the WNBA the clear priority instead of a summer job. Look at the NBA as a model. The top players in the league aren't even American. Giannis Antetokounmpo is Greek, Nikola Jokic is Serbian, and Luka Doncic is Slovenian. They could play in their home countries, but they don't, because the NBA is a premier league. It pays the most, has the highest level of competition, and is where you go if you want to be considered the best in the world. That's what the WNBA needs to become, and it won't get there by salaries alone. It gets there by building a league structure that demands to be taken seriously.